Paloma asks, how do you simplify this kind of complex textures like feathers, leaves, or grass and such? Like, how do you know when to stop adding information? Okay, so it's a really good question. So this is, if we think abstractly, okay, about this reference, there's a lot going on, but we have to think of it in terms of like this the simplest forms, or the simplest elements of the image, right? And the first initial one is that difference, that silhouette. To me, that's very important and very key, right? So but we're simplifying it, right, down to this this element of the image. And let me just pause a sec. Actually, I don't want to get too off track. But so we're only focused on that silhouette, and then we're adding, like I said, local color. Like we are trying to. I think this is the best term to use. Trying to look through, and really boil it down. You know, if you squint your eyes, you're going to see these different shifts in color, without any of that noise and that texture, right? We want to look past that, and then we're pulling it back into our painting, and we are stacking those decisions on top to create complexity. But I don't feel the need to have it go every fine detail. You know, that's not what I want the focus to be. You know, all those things that we said about like kind of intent and focus in your image. I'm not so concerned about every little fold and everything like that you see here. But yeah, you have to just boil it down. But you're adding complexity as you go. We'll see here as it starts to like emerge a little bit more, with like the rendering side of things. But yeah, I guess maybe I spoke about I answered the question a little bit wrong, but it's like, how do you know when to stop? You know, I think it's just a matter of taste as well. Like you kind of feel it and you're like, no, that looks good, that looks right to me, and that just kind of comes with developing your own style and your own taste, and you feel like, yeah, it doesn't need any more. Like I could go into the very fine details, but it's not necessary. And the time constraints as well, like I talked about, I wanted it to be done within an hour, so I just don't have time to render all those feathers. Yeah, I just try and put a limit, like kind of a limit on myself. I don't know if that's a bad thing or what, but it's helped me, I think, be more decisive with my painting. Does that answer the question? Yeah, I think I need to approach that question. Yeah, Vitor, I will share the demo after the class.
Yeah,
Let me
if you
just
send it, go ahead.
Sorry, what was that?
If you send it to me, I'll send you a folder after the class, and if you send it, I'll upload it to the course page.
Cool. That sounds good. Um, Yeah, so just talking, I rewound the painting a little bit, but so here I'm introducing a bit of the lighter tones, you know, that sit on top, um, because we started at the mid-tone, and then I'm adding a little bit of light there, but it's kind of the local color at the same time a little bit, so I'm not pushing the light too much. Um, and then here, I knew that this section, I kind of, you noticed when I'm carving out the silhouette, I intentionally left this area like empty because I knew I wanted those feathers to be like very expressive and more like painterly, like flourishes, right? Um, so I don't need to fixate on that in the early step. I want that to feel more spontaneous. Um, so that's what I'm doing here. And I do a stroke, and if I'm not happy with it, I'll erase it. And you know, I don't do it. I try and yeah, I try and not overwork that part too much. Let's skip ahead a little bit. But yeah, very still considering the flow and the overall like form and the silhouette here and the overall shape. But there's some breakout. Eduardo asks, are your first local colors mid-tone values 50% gray? If so, is this how you start generally all paintings? So no, the local colors are not all mid-tone because they would be the same value as this is a bit lighter, maybe the background. The local color, it has its own value as well. We'll cover this next week. But yeah, the local color isn't it has its own hue, it has its own saturation, it has its own value. And I try and again look through the reference and just take a guess about what the local color is. But it's more about in relation to other local colors in the image. So yeah, the local color of these feathers is a darker value than these orange feathers. These are brighter, and the same with this white here. The local value of this is higher. If that does that make sense? Cool. Catherine asks, would you say trying to do paintings with a limited amount of time, like an hour, helps you improve more than spending all day on one, like for a study? Yeah, I think it depends. It's definitely helped me personally with my painting and developing a process. But those longer form studies are really valuable as well. Like some of those ones that I showed you early on, where I was doing studies of the statues and all that kind of stuff like that. Those took a while, and I definitely feel like I had the time to really observe and sink a lot of time like studying the forms and how it turns and everything like that, and then I use that knowledge later on. But yeah, the quicker studies, I think it I think it helps. Like I personally feel like I've gotten more um out of painting a lot of different subjects rather than fixating on one super long form painting, personally. But yeah, this approach and this style of like, I guess, painting quickly, it's it's not for everyone, and it's not for every context, every job, and everything like that. But this is like personally how I like to do my personal work, right? But there are tons of artists who, just the nature of their work, it requires longer time investment. Miles Johnston is a great artist, friend of mine, and his work takes hours and hours and hours, and it's incredible. But it's a different requirement of that. Here, my focus is more on spontaneity and the flourishes in the brushwork, and I can get away with it taking less time, if that makes sense. So yeah. And here I'm kind of painting in the feathers, but I'm picking from the colors that I've already established and I'm dragging them across. It's a kind of a simplified approach, but I feel like because the painting has a pretty solid base already, now we can get like with the rendering and the, but it's still relatively simple, right? What I'm doing, I'm just painting, erasing out, but it's a simplified approach. I'm thinking about the overall shape of those brush marks and the movement as well, the direction, getting that flow. You see that flow in the reference? I'm maintaining that. That's a quality that I feel like is important, right? And I'm trying to carry that across into my work. I'm playing around with giving them even a little bit of like a cast shadow here, just to add like a little bit of depth there, but I don't go too far with it. I'll speed it up a little bit. You'll have the full video. You can look in your own time as well if you want to watch back. Playback speed. Oh my god. Yeah, my light's actually broken, so that's why I've gone all I'm sitting in the dark now. I need to fix that. I can also provide the PSD for this if anyone is interested. So you can look through all the layers that I've got. I'm very open about sharing PSDs. If there's any particular painting that you want to see, then I probably have the PSD. I'll just give it to you guys.
Yeah, again, you can send those to the same folder and I'll add them to the course site.
Yeah. Oh my god. I need to turn my webcam off. I'm sorry. It's getting. It's fine. Let's focus on the work. What am I doing here? Okay. I am thinking about the shape design. These repeating shapes and gesture lines. This is just kind of, I wouldn't do this drawing on top of it in my own time. This is kind of just for your benefit of like seeing what I'm thinking about. When I'm designing shapes, what do I think about? I think we can get more into that specifically in another like shape design another class, in another session. But yeah, definitely, I guess proportion is a big one. How these shapes all relate to each other. The feet and the head, they're roughly the same size, and you don't want to make, I don't know, you don't want to make too much evenness, of a distribution of proportions, right? Yeah, I can dissect that a little bit more, but that's just like kind of one aspect of it, I suppose. But it's a good thing to get into. It's a very big topic, shape design. Yeah, it's good. It's definitely good to ask these questions as well. And even if I don't have like a complete, concise answer right now, it's something that, yeah, we can definitely approach. Like I want to approach that stuff going forward, and I'll be able to articulate it more.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In your day-to-day at work, do you use basically the same process, or is it different when it's for a job?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same, to be honest. I won't get too specific about my day job, but yeah, I think with concepting, I actually, when we get into concepting in another week, we'll definitely think about this. But I like to thumbnail like really sketchy, like you know rough, and just the very loose intention of what I want to paint, and the design of it, and yeah, just not focused on like any of this like brushwork or anything like that at that stage. Very, very rough. And then I take that, I put it in the corner and I look at it, and then I do the same thing. I use that as a reference and then kind of recreate it in a more clean style, but using this process basically. And sometimes I'll use a bit more like line than I do in my personal work to describe stuff. But yeah, you can see that on my portfolio if you want to check out that work. But yeah, it's pretty much the same, and it depends on the context as well. There's some, sometimes you'll be I paint over like block out sometimes, so that requires a little bit of a different process, but yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Cool. So yeah, now I'm getting into kind of the home stretch a little bit, and all these feathers. I purposefully leave some stuff a bit more vague and loose, actually softening an edge here, which we'll definitely get into edges as a whole topic. But I don't want everything to be this like hard geometric kind of shape. I want to paint in a bit of that softness. So yeah, I'm just like losing some of those edges a little bit. But I always, when I'm painting these as well, I always kind of I start with the harder shape, like the more graphic shape, and then I lose those edges later on. I tend to go, yeah, in that method just works for me. But you can definitely start from like a very soft, ethereal looking sketch, very loose, and then harden some and define some more edges that way. And it'll give you a different look to your painting. You'll have a different approach, right? It definitely will have an impact on it. But for me and for what I want to look at here, that's how I approach it.
I really like this one brush that you're using that's like kind of chiselly.
Yeah.
Is it like pen angle
Yeah, I
tuned?
think so. Yeah.
That's cool.
How much time do we have? Oh, there's still a little bit to go. Yeah, I'm just adding a little bit of rim light to make it pop. That was also in the reference. But yeah, wasn't like a big focus for me here. But I felt like it draws a little bit more attention to the face, so it'd be good to have. Oh, what am I doing? Playback speed. Oh yeah, I actually played with like putting a little bit of line into it, and this is something just like a little bit of an experiment, and I'll do that sometimes. Like stylistically, I might just see how it looks or make some kind of change, and then I didn't like it, so I dropped it. But experimenting a little bit. Eduardo asks, for this type of study, how much of the lighting do you take from the reference? How much information do you need the reference to provide? So it depends from study to study, and if I really like the lighting, or I want that to kind of like, maybe that's the reason I chose it is because I want to study that type of lighting, then I'll definitely pull on the lighting and use that. But there's been a few examples, maybe in some of my older work, where I was kind of just inventing lighting and being a little bit more playful, I guess, in terms of adding rim lights and that kind of thing. But just as like my tastes have changed a little bit, maybe, or I want it to kind of be truer to the photo in some way, or truer to the reference, I've kind of stopped doing that so much. But yeah, you can definitely, I want to emphasize as well that like I have this thing of the painting is its own thing with its own rules that I can manipulate like to what I want, right? So I'm using information from the reference. They're like kind of like clues, but when it's on my painting, it's its own thing. So I can invent lighting and change the context of it, and that could be a good exercise as well, right? Like, you know, you have the reference in the face of one person and all the anatomy stuff of one person, but then you have lighting from a different reference, and then you say, okay, now apply that light into the first reference, right? That's a good exercise, because that's you're taking information from multiple sources and combining them into something unique, right? Which is a cool thing. I've done that exercise before as well with another class I did, but yeah, maybe we can do some of that stuff. Focus on more environment and light and stuff on the last week, I think. But yeah, how do I balance? Catherine asks, how do you balance studies and personal work? So I see them as kind of the same thing to me, a little bit, because this is a study, but it's also my personal work in a way, right? It stands up on its own as a piece of art, I hope. And I'm not using it purely for learning or academic kind of, you know, I'm making a painting with a reference. And is that a study? Am I learning stuff while I'm doing it? Yeah. But I feel like they're kind of the similar thing for me, especially as I'm like taking more artistic liberties with them, and you know, I don't see them as separate things so much. But personal work, in terms of, I guess you mean like projects or more imaginative work. I probably, I don't do enough of that stuff. Like, I want to do more character designs. I want to do more, you know, personal projects. That's like an actual body of work. But yeah, for where I am right now, I feel like studies are a little bit, or these referenced paintings, they're a little bit more approachable and easier to manage for me mentally. But yeah, I do definitely want to do more of that stuff in the future. Hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, this is the painting. Let me, oh, sorry. I'll open up the PSD. Give me a moment. So yeah, there's also another recording that I did that I think I stopped recording halfway through by accident. But I can figure out that. But yeah, this is that's what we got. And I can give you guys this PSD as well, if you want to take a look. Chelsea asks, when about do you feel like you're done with a piece? It's a difficult thing to know, really, but it's sort of just when I feel, when the hour's up, maybe, I don't know. It's when I feel like I've gotten where I want to, you know, in that mental image in my head, I guess, and all the information and all that stuff is in place, you kind of just get a sense of like, okay, I can call this done. I think I don't like reworking the same image or working into the paint-in over and over and over again in this type of context, in this work. So yeah, when I feel like that's good enough, all the information's down that is essential to the paint-in, then that's when I feel like it's done. But I could definitely take this further. I could refine this further, but I would rather make another paint-in. I'd rather just be like, yeah, that looks good to me, and move on to the next one. And yeah, by continually moving on to new pieces, like I'm gaining more experience, and yeah, I'm facing different challenges and stuff, right? So that could be a good way to approach things. Yeah, I'll just like remove some of these layers. We can quickly go back of all this like slow build up. So we got to a fairly complex image, and it took an hour, and it's just stacking a lot of quite simple decisions on top of each other to create a whole finished piece. Oh, I've turned these lines back on. No, didn't mean to do that. So yeah, I think that that about concludes the session. I'm sorry, like yeah, some people had to leave because yeah, it went a bit long, but hopefully you got something out of seeing that process and me talking about it a little bit. Really feel free to put questions you have in the Discord as well, and I'll be sure to like keep that in mind for future sessions to address. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I hope you guys got something out of it, and I'm really excited for the next weeks, the next weeks, the weeks to come. And yeah, just remember this assignment will be here in the Discord as well, and all the PSDs. Like I said, give me a shout if you want a specific PSD to look through. But yeah, we'll keep the assignment pretty loose for now, but we're gonna definitely get into more practical, hands-on work to come. So it will be good. Great. I think that's everything. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See ya.
Bye.